When the Chant Comes, of this book, Sharon Bridgeforth has said, when the chant comes is fire medicine for the soul. It calls forth a recalibration of these rageful times that we are living in. Get this book. It's in the back right there. Get this book. Get your healing, y'all. That's what Sharon Bridgeforth said. Vivek Shreya wrote, when the chant comes, we arise, relieved that we aren't alone. When the chant comes, we join in full-throated. When the chant comes is pure queer love that refuses to apologize. Kay Ulanday Barrett is a poet, performer, educator, navigating life as a disabled Filipinx American transgender queer in the US with struggle, resistance, and laughter. This book came out when the chant comes, hashtag when the chant comes, in fall 2016. And since then, Kay has toured it in 35 cities, 15 conferences, festivals. It's the book that's talked about at your cousin's potlucks and performance spaces everywhere. And we have some amazing writers here today who are going to help us celebrate the 3-year anniversary of this book. So the first writer that we have is, let's give a big hand actually for everyone who's here, for Kay, for the Writers' Workshop. I'm so excited. Our first writer is Moncho Alvarado, who is a Mexican-American, yay, queer poet, translator, and educator. Their poems have been published in 2018 Emerge Lambda Fellows Anthology, the Academy American Poets website, Microcosmos Journal, and other publications. They're recipient of fellowships and residencies from the Helen Wurlitzer Foundation, Lambda Literary Poets House, Troika House, and won the Academy American Poets John B. Santuani Award for Excellence in Poetry. Born and raised in Pecome, California, they currently live in Brooklyn, New York. Yay, intro. Thank you.
Hi. Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much for having me. Okay, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for everyone for being here, and I love you guys. Okay, go. All right. And the poems I'm going to read, there's a series of letters I write to my family members. This one, there's some to my mom. So this one's, Dear Ama. When I confessed to you, I don't know how to whistle. I asked, can you teach me like you do it? You said, it's fácil. Look up. Kiss everything. Hold the sun between your mouth. Blow like this. After I told you I was bi, you wrinkled the space between us by hugging me. For the first time, you told me, you confused? I said, is the fire confused when it eats? I told you I'm going by they, them, and my real name, the one I was born with, not given. You said, you are not what it says on your driver's license. Ama, gracias for believing in this ordinary phenomenon, like the DNA that made grapes, made them 1,000,000 times before, 1,000,000 times after. I have one in my mouth. How round this knowledge, the gush in my mouth, sweet, tart, and bitter. But Ama, I finally learned how to whistle like you. Okay. Go. Thank you. The next one's called The 2 Train. I wake up at 3 a.m., shower, brush my teeth, or forget to pack my lunch, put on makeup, but I still enter the morning with how do we continue to live? I'm learning every day. That truth is always new to me, as I've been here for years, as gold light streaks my face on the next stop. Someone's always at work. People who monitor the trains, garbage workers picking up our trash, sanitation crew disposing our waste, security guards walking through museums, and the rest of us here, going somewhere. And I know how it feels to make $1 out of 15 cents, as Tupac said, but I'm exhausted of being by working 50-hour work weeks, feed myself at food, not bombs at Von King Park, making sure to be in the veil of soul making as Keats. It takes its toll when I can't afford any of my Lexapro. Also, who told the universe to quantum? The sun's about to come up in the sky on my stop. I look up. We're all flying, being led by what came before us. Now on my day off, in a few more days, smells of weed, four locos, fried nopales, sage smoke burns the week away, the good and bad dreams. Eventually, everything dies so they can become again. But before I clock in, I buy a cup of black coffee, burn myself again, and wait for sun rays on my skin so I can eat and maybe see a rainbow today. Okay. This next one's called I'm Not Sorry for Being Human and Smoking a Joint While Watching Planet Earth. Leaves built altars for the sun from their bodies, luminance eaten daily. We make paper from the trees, their bodies singing o's. And when my nephew was born, he was soft, tiny, and quiet. I was afraid to hold him, but then I did, and I cried. He comes from immigrants. The word comes from the Latin migrare, to move from one place to another to another. Sentences are all immigrants. Look at them moving from the page to eyes, brains, throats, and Ama's citizenship paper saying she's legal here, though Earth never refused. I look at my nephew's drawing of our family on my phone, outlines in brown and black crayons. We have been writing on the sun all this time, how it speaks, a lesson in instants, nourishments, joys, rigors, reactions, violences, occurrences of the present. Outside, I can't unsee everything. You keep saying, I'm alive. Okay. All right, there's another one to my mom. Dear Mom, I bite into a taste of home, deep fried dough con azúcar, churros sold by a couple that look like your parents. You told me Abuelo mined the underworld for ancient memories, worth millions of dollars under our feet. All his years digging cost less than all the gleam he dug out. You asked him, why do we wear the earth? You said he laughed, coughed up into his lungs. But looking at the night sky, I want to wear it, that everywhere where dreams are made real, where the oldest things to survive are, like a heart with 4 chambers, the flow sings a remembrance to keep us from exiting ourselves, like a promise I make to start a diet for a whole year, but sopes, tamales de queso y rajas, asada fries. Pues, maybe I'll promise to diet part-time. But why do 2 hydrogen love 1 oxygen to let us inhale one of the oldest contracts of the universe? Air. It carries the smells of everything, like vanilla, lavender, pine trees, a new book when it opens for the first time. There's matter and energy in there, like our last hug when we last saw each other. I still feel it now, the way we held each other. A universe, a womb. It creates and births and vanishes, traces of existence into the stars. P.S. You can't gel the revolution was tagged on the side of a Wendy's. But Ama, you can make it go into debt and never revolt. Who can afford to move into the future when today is always catching up? Okay, which one? Okay. And this one's still my one more? Okay. All right. Praying on Poet's Bench. Kiss the soil beneath you. It lets you sleep and stand. Never asks you for anything. So say thank you to your eyes. the courage it takes to let the universe in, not become blinded by everything, living so deceptively simple. And when the songs of trees are gone, it will be the end of names, of imagination, of desires, of gifts, of the way I eat my beloved's meal. I say thank you to them for preparing everything. I say thank you to the food sacrifice, their body and essence. Then inhale the al pastor, cilantro, corn tortillas. Taste the color of their lives and know this is not the only possible world.
Those were so beautiful. Thank you so much. Let's give another hand. Fabulous. Our next reader is Joshunda Sanders, who is the author of 5 books, including her first children's book in a series, I Can Write the World, which I believe we have back here. Yes? Fabulous. Published by 6 Foot Press in July 2019. When she's not tweeting randomly, she's at work on her 6th book, a novel, and lives in her hometown, the Bronx.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm gigantic. All right, let me make sure that I get that right. Okay. All right. How are y'all? Good, good, good. I'm trying to lift the energy for myself because I have that between season yuckiness. I don't know what it is, but I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I was here last year trying to sing Whitney Houston. I didn't do that great of a job, but it was still fun. So I'm going to read from my children's book. There are galleys in the back for $5, but this is the story of a girl named Ava. She's named after Ava DuVernay and Pauli Murray, who was a trans scholar who actually was the person who created the precedent for Jim Crow through Jane Crow. And Pauli was not able to be trans in the time period when they were alive, but I wanted to resurrect them a little bit in this story. So Ava Murray is her name. She's 8. The sun lights the sky over the Bronx, bright orange and yellow, the smell of freshly baked bread in the air from the bakery up the street, the rattle of a fruit stand below. Rising up from the corner below, honking horns, salsa, and hip-hop music, the beeping of a truck that tows. My Bronx is a world of many colors and sounds, shapes and sizes that are bright and bold. My name is Ava Murray, and I am 8 years old. Mornings with mommy include the news, images, and words I don't always catch. Views from the outside in, I think these are stories about my home, but how I feel and what I see don't always match. A girl about my age flashes on screen. It looks like adults are just being mean. She did something against the rules, painting pretty pictures that make plain walls sparkle like jewels. Why is she in trouble? I ask my mom, Kim. Because she made something pretty, but she didn't ask for permission, Mom says. The art is called graffiti, and it is one way kids who want to create share their talents with the world. Creativity is using what you have to make a map of your dreams. What you see in your mind or feel in your heart can come out in dance, colors, or beats. When she was my age, there were no art classes at school, but Black and brown kids taught themselves to move, sketch, rap, and make hip-hop culture cool. Sometimes the way the world sees us is different from how we see ourselves, Mom says. She is talking about the news and its views. See the frame around the window? It shapes everything you see below. Journalists on the news are like the window frame, Mom says. They tell the stories they think we should know. Listening to Mom talk makes me imagine myself watching the Bronx from the sidewalk, talking to my neighbors, typing up the stories I find everywhere I walk. At school, the thoughts and feelings still swirl when we are asked to write about what we love, about where we live. I remember Mom's story and think, I can write the world. Can I interview for my first story? I asked Mom. Of course, Ava. I'd be honored, she says, her face lighting up like sunshine. Tell me more about the music and art you and your classmates made. At an old park, she says, this is where it all began with Grandmaster Flash and Cool Herc, who made new sounds from music with records and a microphone. Like a lot of our neighbors who are from islands like Puerto Rico or Haiti or Jamaica, when they came to the Bronx, they brought the sounds of their homeland, salsa, reggae. Hip-hop music has all of that in it too, along with African drum beats, dance hall, jazz, rhythm, and blues. This is one of my favorite illustrations. She reminds me of the huge parties in the summer on our block, with speakers so big the music makes the whole Bronx rock. Everything we make is connected to the past. It's how you make the art you love last. Long ago in Egypt, the first graffiti was made of symbols called hieroglyphics. The meaning of every word, then and now, was tailored and specific. When I tell the story of the Bronx I know and love, I share the story of art forms that traveled miles and years to get here. Some stories about our home focus on the bad and not the good, I say at the end. But what is most beautiful in our world, what makes the Bronx stand out, may not always be understood. What matters most is that we know we are connected to people who have always made the most of the world they were given, making visible the beauty that otherwise might be hidden. This is what journalists have always done, so I decide I will be one. To be continued. Thank you for indulging me. I don't really, I never thought I would write a children's book. And I never thought I would read a children's book to adults. But, I mean, it's the book that I would have loved to have read as a child. So it's amazing that it's in the world. Do I have time for 2 more poems? A love manifesto to the South. We, the spirits of this heart and body, declare ourselves worthy of space that Ntozake claimed, that love demands, a radical love stretched through infinity with freedom light hung over from that Cuban socialist rum. If love adores and is devoted, it must come bearing decadent food and delightful drinks. It must not ask me to wear chains on my body or my spirit. It will not make claims or speak to me in the oppressed, sad language of captors. We will stoke the flames of an eternal fire with this ever-flourishing light, this dance, this trance. We will not shrink from the hot, brilliant light that threatens to burn us with its heat. We call on all of ourselves to stand in the glory of our own devotions, to draft prayers of our own sensuality, to believe in the devastating heights of breathtaking divinity that have always been placed within us for reasons we must remain ravenous to discover. We are determined to belong to ourselves. We are our most cherished possessions. We are not consumed by our reflections. We just know that the answers to what is happening out there begins in here with this, the love that is the work we make visible and concrete. It's the last one. It's called Heaven Belongs to You. Who knows about Orisha in the room? Okay. So this is about Orisha. Randomly. I don't know why they arrived on the page, but they did. Okay. Heaven belongs to you. 1. Those clouds too light and fluffy for Tupac and not enough for Aaliyah. When the summer electrical storms strike fuchsia and blaze purple beauty over trash fumes wafting in my window, I imagine Lisa Lopez in Oya drunk off moonshine, rearranged den furniture trapped Elizabeth Taylor style over some ignorant shit Shango done did now. With Oshun or an old wound, this is self-imposed terror, a kind of contained fury that can unfurl with beauty and grace, has been living in our curves for many centuries now, has been in the blood, has been in the air, in our hair. Our glory, our might is our range. Our tears, the manifestation of our hearts sweating, beating so loud, so no longer registers, so energy drips from our eyes, a warning, a storm to be sheltered from. That is not the devil beating his wife, little girl, that rain shower when the sun is out. It is a goddess dressed for a night out with her girls. It is a goddess readying for spiritual warfare. 2. Faith Evans is a double entendre, and you got the joke too late. But Biggie knew this is what black girls have for hope, for cash, for currency. And if you will not pay us any mind, will not pay us any attention, will not pay us any real money, at least, you can pay, you will pay for the broken lives of my sisters. 3. There is a whole Orisha section, and on her day, and sometimes on the days of the Egun, Oshun gets drunk, just drunk enough to be delightful, to flirt with the wrong ones, to tug at her snug yellow dress, sunlight a companion to her skin, so close you can see the girl's pulse. She the original King Bee. The goddess coquette, eyes glistening in her own light, high off her own supply, all her bracelets, all her necklaces shimmering like the glassy golden honey legs spread. The beauty is attracting the half-summers, spare their lives, they drunk too, and ain't had no liquor in centuries, just got a contact high from the confidence. Bored of being watched, she gets to dance. The watching, even in this place of light and eternal warmth, is too much heavier than the crown. She made a playlist for her orb of Cardi B and SZA and Janelle Monáe and Sid and the internet, trap reggaeton and alternative R&B. She digs Janelle Monáe especially, but it makes her miss Prince Rogers Nelson, and she will always have and love Michelle. The kinds of moans that remind you what soul is meant to do. And Janet, the OG, a real one. The dudes will front, but Whitney always said she wanted to dance with somebody who loved her. And this is it. They dance and dance and dance like nobody is watching until nobody is watching. This music is their manna, is the life force, their resurrection. Whitney does say in her raspy voice, I haven't had fun like that since Robin. And Oshun nods, touches the diva to put a little honey salve on the heart wound, the crack that forms there in the shape of Bobby. This, Oshun says, this is where broken hearts go. Thank you.
Wow. Let's get another round of applause. Thank you for bringing Whitney into the room and Robin. And my inner child was rejoicing at having a children's book read. That was beautiful. Our next reader is Pamela Sneed, woohoo, who is a New York-based poet, writer, performer, and emerging visual artist. She's the author of Imagine Being More Afraid of Freedom Than Slavery, Kong, and Other Works, and a chaplet, I love that, Gift by Belladonna. She's been featured in the New York Times Magazine, The New Yorker, Time Out, Bomb, Vibe, and the cover of New York Magazine. She's appeared in Art Forum, The Huffington Post, and Hyperallergic. In 2017, she was a visiting critic at Yale and Columbia University. She's a visiting professor at Columbia University School of the Arts and online faculty of Chicago School of the Art Institute, teaching human rights and writing art, and has also been a visiting artist at SAIK. Her performances include Whitney Museum, Brooklyn Museum, Poetry Project, NYU and Pratt Universities, the Highline, Performa, Dance Space, the Bessie's Performance Space, Joe's Pub, the Public Theater. Her short story book, Sweet Dreams, was published by Belladonna on April 28. Thank you for joining us tonight, Pamela. Okay.
I feel like a giant up here. Okay. Hey, everybody, looking good out there. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here and to celebrate you, Kay. Thank you for your contribution. Yeah, so everybody's been so beautiful. And today was like such a fucked up day. It was really crazy. I don't know, the trains were all a mess, you know what I'm saying? My internet went off, no? Oh, is that it? Oh, yeah, I was like, what? Oh, and I have a book deal. Hallelujah. Hey, 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 hey. So City Lights next year, poetry and prose manuscript, and I think it's going to be called For Me, Tina Turner, and All Black Women Survivors. At the end of every Holocaust film I've seen, and there are not that many, they show real life survivors and the lines are, never again. And some of us, like me, stare into these films down the long tunnels of history, wondering how it could have ever happened at all. That a leader and his minions could be so toxic, so poisonous, that you would turn against your neighbors, that you could be so oblivious, brainwashed, scared, desperate to be superior or to survive, you'd do anything. Almost. They say never again, but it is again. As I look at the deportations, roundups, I'm reminded of Idi Amin when he cast out foreigners, and Forrest Whitaker in the film The Last King of Scotland when he played him. And to see it is again at rallies, at protests, they show the coat hangers and crude instruments women were forced to use in back alley abortions. We say never again, but taking away women's choice in Planned Parenthood, it is again. Today started out in an argument with a so-called fan who didn't understand why I mentioned race so much in my new book, and that white man is not the first. A black woman asked me to. I wanted to scream, hello? Haven't you seen the news? Didn't you see what happened to Stephon Clark, unarmed and shot in the back 6 times by police, and no one even cares what happens to women, black lesbians, or lesbians of color? There's no public outcry. A student once wrote to me in an academic paper that a parent forced her to stop playing sports because they said sports made her more of a dyke. It murdered my student inside because she was an athlete. Yeah, so the white guy I argued with about my book said he was just giving me some good advice from his experience as an empath. I said, I don't need your advice. I have reasons for talking about race and gender in the interpersonal. He said he was just trying to help me. I'll offer this non sequitur. Winnie Mandela died a few years ago. She had a great impact on me. I read she was nobility, but then of course the difference between her and say how Princess Diana was treated. Everyone accepted and loved Diana's silent, passive status. She was allowed to be gorgeous. No one ever associated with her that dirty colonial stain. There are moments in that recent Winnie Mandela documentary that stand out to me, where she buried her face in her hands and she screamed out, as I have so many times, I've been betrayed. The other moment was when she said she was the only ANC member brought to TRC and made to testify, and also that Nelson Mandela forgave a nation, but he could never forgive her. I think what was done to Winnie is also done to other black women and working artists, black women fighting to give language resistance, but it only matters when a celebrity says or does it. At Cape Coast Castle in Ghana, after you've passed the door of no return, there is a plaque donated to the castle by the black tribal elders. It reads, "May we never sell ourselves into slavery again." But it is. Size, color, class. I was never allowed to be little, and by little I mean innocent. By little I mean allowed to play, make mistakes. If anything occurred in whatever setting, I was always blamed. I was mistaken constantly for being older than I was. At 6, when my stepmother came, she refused to allow me alone time with my father. If a moment occurred, she asked, "What were you doing with him?" as if at 6 I were molesting my father. I was once caught through an open bathrobe trying to see my father's penis. My stepmother never forgot. "You were trying to look at him," she said. I was not given toys, books, anything, stuffed animals, bows, ribbons, anything that may be attached to a little girl. I was also my mother's sounding board for her adult problems with my dad, constantly instructed to call the police when he hit her. The only thing my parents could figure out to do together for some small infraction was to give me punishment. 2 weeks. So I never knew the nurturance girls got. My adult life has duplicated this, always to blame, outside, refusing to see my little girl. On occasion, my mother sent me to the store to get candy, things that she liked. Fireballs, Reese's peanut butter cups, Kit Kat bars, black licorice, sometimes red, which I liked, Twizzlers. I remember once chewing a pack of red Twizzlers as an adult. The red stem hung out of my mouth. A friend of mine exclaimed at the time, "You're such a little girl, Pamela." And once when I was with a woman, someone looked on and said, "Oh, your little girl is out." In relationships, too, I was never the little girl. In fact, in most of them, I rescued radically immature women. I was their mother, caretaker, the one with all the responsibility. And of course, when it ended, I was always to blame. Everything to me lies around class, race, gender lines, even in so-called evolved communities, even with people of color. I always know no one would treat a white-skinned woman or a man the way that I've been treated. In colleges where I teach, I'm always aware of the hierarchy. People screaming about diversity. I moan, complain, how the AIDS narrative only belongs to men. They never ask women, black women, as if AIDS didn't happen to us, our fathers, brothers, sons, nephews, cousins, acquaintances. The black gay boys in the choir became our disappeared. I remember a pair of black gay men who were spiritual would act as ministers and bury the dead black boys families wouldn't recognize. These men showed up as the priests and gave last rites. And what of the women, a mother nursing a grown son returned to a baby ravaged by AIDS, me being young myself going into sick wards like leper colonies, seeing those abandoned by society, I never forgot. Even my era did not allow me to be little, innocent, a threat if I spoke up, a competitor for middle-class white girls who had the world handed to them and resented me, you, for surviving, thriving against all odds. All right. It is courageous. I am doing that thing now my mother, stepmother could not do. She tried, practiced. I will never forget the blue suitcase, a square that looked almost like an attaché case, only larger. It was always the same song and dance routine whenever she fought with my mother, with my father. She'd pull the blue suitcase out of her closet. She'd pack the case, leaving it to sit by the door. She'd scream to my father, "I'm leaving you." And then the bullet, "I'm also taking your daughter. You're coming with me, right?" I really had no choice. I knew she wouldn't leave and I'd be stuck with her wrath. I wanted her to go. I wanted to stay with my father, but I couldn't say that. My mother tried, but never made it past the stairwell. Maybe once she made it down the stairs and he dragged her back. "Call the police," she commanded to my 6-year-old self. Maybe once or twice she made it down to the parking lot and into their car, the emerald green Impala. Maybe he clung to the side of the door and threatened, as Toni Morrison once described in the novel about slavery Beloved. Besides the main character, Seth, there was a girl so traumatized by her sister's ghost, a baby whose throat was slit by her mother, she could never get past the yard. I imagine how many slaves tried as opposed to got away. How many made it down to the garden or the potato patch with thoughts and sights on freedom but turned back for fear. How many, as I have, got trapped, could never get their foot loose. My mother practiced, but she could never escape. I see the end result, a depression that can't be overcome, mental illness left untreated that eats away her brain. She believes that there are bugs in a man who comes to the house and steals from her. She buys poison and puts it down daily. The worst part is that through abuse, she's been made into a man's raggedy doll. So I am doing now what my mother could not do. Though it is late, though I should have done it long ago, moving away from abuse, emptying, going back to the beginning, it's frightening to start over, reshape my own core. What do I have? What my mother and I share is an indomitable spirit. Just when you think it's impossible, an obstacle can't be overcome, there is me. There is my mother. As in a medical drama, when you think the patient has lost too much blood, suffered too many wounds, there is me. There is my mother. It's like an action drama when the hero fleeing a villain clings for life from a rooftop awaiting rescue. There is me. There is my mother. I'm going to read one more. I'm not sure why, but it's taken forever for me to write this poem. I hope to remember all the pieces, but I've developed a new condition. One that's come from age. I can no longer take the shit that I once did. And there's a part of my condition that comes from gentrification and cell phone use, living amidst tech zombies and their general fear and hatred of people of color. My condition is called Sidewalk Rage. It's kind of like road rage, but it comes when I'm walking down the street and there's some millennial who has just moved into the neighborhood who thinks it's theirs, a little grown-ass white girl who in broad daylight feels a dark presence walking behind her. It's me. Minding my own business, and she gets so panicked and paralyzed she stops walking and holds her purse. With my new condition, I yell, "If you don't want to live around black people, get the fuck out of the neighborhood." She is shocked. Or in another scenario, you see random white women on their phone standing in a doorway completely blocking it because, you know, only they exist. And you're like, hello? Hello? Yes, all these years I thought I was still a small town girl, and then suddenly with my sidewalk rage, I'm a bona fide New Yorker, like the ones you see on bicycles banging on the hood of a taxi cab that tries to cut them off. My person with sidewalk rage is a character of their own. Where I was once silent, recently I confronted a man who was blocking my path, crossing the street. He had his head down and he almost ran into me. I sucked my teeth really loud and I shouted, "Hello! Hello! Move!" He was so angry I confronted him. He yelled, "Suck my dick." I started to yell something profane, but I stopped myself. And then I was in the subway going downstairs and a white man rammed into me on the phone. My sidewalk rage kicked in and I thought for a second to sneak behind him and kick him down the stairs. That's my sidewalk rage. But I stopped myself. I don't know who this person is in me, who would never speak up for herself, was always soft and vulnerable, who's been at various times pickpocketed, blasphemed, body slammed, ransacked, ridiculed, who now has a voice, who now lets rage show, who couldn't express herself, has now become all angles and sharp edges. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Kay, for bringing all these amazing writers out. The three who have come, and now we're going to have one more. Let's give Pamela another hand. That was amazing. Pamela, are your books in the back? Do we have your books?
No, I didn't bring any books,
But
you can get them online
you
at
can-
Belladonna, and
okay.
they'll be released next year in the fall.
Okay, fabulous. Oh, wow. Okay, amazing. I was crying, I was laughing, I was raging. I was just, thank you. Jasmine Reed, is a twice trans poet of flowers. It's a beautiful line. She's the author of the forthcoming chapbook, Deus Ex Nigrum, winner of the 28 Honeysuckle Press Chapbook Contest, selected by Denez Smith, an MFA candidate at Cornell University and recipient of fellowships from Poets House and Jack Jones Literary Arts. Her work has been published or is forthcoming in Muzzle Magazine, Apogee, The Shade Journal, and Paper Darts, among others. A Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net nominated poet, Jasmine was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, and is currently based in Ithaca, New York. Find her at readjasmine.com. Welcome, Jasmine, to the stage.
She harvests herself. Black, perforated article of feminine investment, how indentured the chest to tight lines which draw the eye to query, beheld in the choke close space of interrogative, her bra screams for her. Think apples, cherries, melon seeds fleshed in red. Think face peeled back and set to teeth. Surgery, she is recalled to ground, to grow green in the face. There will be so much blood. Terror is yeast to her daily bread. She shivers in sheets of flight, is risen and broken open into pitted fission across her chest. Light is juiced and X is marked in bra straps. Dig me out of the future. She wishes every day to be meloned. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Kay, for inviting me. It's such an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to be here. Both times that I've read in this space, Kay has been the one to invite me, and it feels so heartening and special to be able to stand in this space and to be a guest in this space and to like give my words back to it in a kind of solidarity. And thanks everyone for being here. The next poem is called Your Best American Girl. Counting stars blink out one by one, our view of the galaxy split and pestered with indolent, milky sparks. Disaster so much we make and drink our own darkness, black and not and pink and stars, flowers at the tips of our reach, garden of two imported girls, mixed, mulched, heavenly, resting, the rest is a grave splayed bare as the erotics of teeth, hunger, hollow, some things combine into absence, you, me, who will suck the gorgeous blank and nutrient glow? This next poem was written to and for a dear friend of mine. Her name is Jessica Martinez. She's like fly and brilliant and important poet, and I hope that y'all get to meet her at some point. And so the poem is called Yes, See. It's her name, Yes, See. Yes, See. Every weed a rumble and I'm there. Wow, over the sadness of earth, a girl once upon a flowering dream leap towards diaspora of yes seeds. Don't believe the sickle which says no. It's Lord's swish, swish, wind this radial splay of laying claim, and in the epicenter, the circumstances of birth are wrangled with mud and gloss, rejecting light, star-spangled, banging, dumb, the shapes we pour into, and though everywhere is now my country and your country, and though the stellar dust and years of light in our names we put out to sea, our nearness, night faces, and though unbounding the tops of our heads is punishable by death, sea rotates out of the earth in every language, and wind sends the dirt of my country to yours. Just a couple more poems. This next one is a poem. It's called Subjectivity, and it's a very different kind of poem for me in the voice, and also I think in the way that it says the thing, and it doesn't shy away from that, and that scares me. So we're gonna read this poem, Subjectivity. I am a me, or I have a me, or I am not my body, though I do not know what I would do without it. I have a self that exists inside every version of me. There are years worth of skin I did not recognize an I or a self inside. I am attached to. As a child, I labored under a mild obsession with kites. Every second, my cells labor under the instructions of DNA, hormones, the amount of sun I do or do not become. In cell replication, DNA is severed, copied, and stitched without error. Living is something like this, though the tears are uneven and each seam shows. If my body is infallible, then I am a sequence of errors. I am a star incessantly throwing itself onto the face of the moon, always turning away. I am perfect as rarely as the occurrence of syzygy. There is a third party haunting every encounter with its planetary body. My unrequited desire is a fool of gravity and the helical structure of time and effort, and I am looking into the whole inside form that is trans-chronology and trans-failure trying to fall in. Once I was gifted a kite, but the wind said no each time I tried to fly. If hurt makes perfect, then I blame the idea of God in my body, which remembers everything. I intervene. I change the hormones I am given, and still my body remembers all of its phases. I hurl the face that I am, but it falls, sad and fat, as stars grief light into the concluding grief of craters and all the wrong names for moon. As some mostly blue earth keeps spinning, though the blue-eyed will of God damns me, there are blue moons and moments I fall into three. These are the fractions of day called divinity. These are the trinity of goddess I know. I am the angel of me, blank and spooled to this rosen poet moon. Every day I pray to she to be superlative enough to blind and hover in sky, a perfectly unseen blackness where God's name was. So one more poem, and it's a poem that kind of becomes or is turning into a chant, and so I'm really, really excited to end on this one. Of devotion, angel. Layers deep in song, my heart sounds like a melodic siren, thin as rope, the smallest girl jumping by the second. Cover your ears with the sound of my body, slapped with pavement, ambling, graceful as it can, the reverse gospel of grooves, jukes, planes, angles, my heartwood angel of devotion. Can you hear the plea pumped in ecstatic gestures of will, like will to live, like one day I will be cut open, rearranged, and put back together, this is the sound of blood having done its best, now at the edge of a cliff or a knife, waiting for the right moment to fall in stereo. My heart gives and does not give, in or out or up, squeezing by the second, a future I will live, yes, in page and screen and two in form, yes, a skeleton rivered in yes, 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 my body is a future ringing with yes, is, yes, yes, my body is a future, yes, a skeleton rivered in yes, in page and screen and two in form, a future I will live, yes, in or out or up, squeezing by the second, my heart gives and does not give, moment to fall in stereo, waiting for the right of a cliff or a knife, having done its best now at the edge and put back together. This is the sound of blood. I will be cut open, rearranged, of will to live like one day. Can you hear the plea pumped in ecstatic gestures of devotion? My heartwood angel of grooves, jukes, planes, angles, graceful as it can, the reverse gospel slapped with pavement, ambling, cover your ears with the sound of my body, the smallest girl jumping by the second, like a melodic siren, thin as rope, layers deep in song, my heart sounds of devotion, angel. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jasmine. Those poems were so beautiful. What a perfect way to honor this full moon night with those amazing poems. Let's give Jasmine another hand. Yay. And now it is time for Kay Ulanday Barrett, who is, I'm going to read their bio. Yes? Cut it short? Okay. Is a poet, performer, and cultural strategist. Kay's been featured at the Lincoln Center Symphony Space, Princeton University, Tucson Poetry Festival, New York Poetry Festival, the Dodge Poetry Foundation, the Hemisphere Institute, and Brooklyn Museum. When the Chant Comes was published by Topside Press in 2016, and their second collection, More Than Organs, will be published by Sibling Rivalry Press. Hey, we'll be Sibling Rivalry. Spring 2020. See their work at kbarrett.net or on social media at Brown Round Boy. And we actually put the Instagram, Twitter handles of all the writers up on the board. I want to just thank Kay for putting together this amazing event. Thank you all for coming, and so excited to hear Kay.
Oh, I love going to Asian spaces because the mic is always just right for me. As soon as I get it, it's usually like, how's everybody doing today? Good. Friday 13th, committed poetry. Friday 13th, new moon. Thank you so much for your patience. I want to thank all the readers up here, every person in my last reading as well. The reason why I curated this specific batch is because I want there to be an understanding that poetry is super hybrid, that poetry lives in everything and has so many ruminations. And I met Moncho at Lambda Literary Review when I was writer in residence, and Moncho was a fellow, and just their work just blasted me, just so thoughtfully. And Joshunda, we bond through karaoke, you know what I'm saying? So it's like poetry and karaoke, it's like my dream world, but also Joshunda's work encapsulates so many genres and so much thoughtfulness and so much sharp writing for all ages. And I can't write for tiny humans. Could you imagine the book I'd write for tiny humans? And with Pamela has been a long-time distant mentor for me. When I wanted to understand what theater, performance, and poetry was, it was Pamela Sneed. Especially as a queer young butch, right? I really had two people. It was Sharon Bridgeforth and Pamela Sneed. And so I feel like Pamela's work just resonates with not just multiple fields of art and thought, but a present politic that's so necessary. And Jasmine, to me, is the epitome of what I think trans poetry should be. So there's just that. And so please be on the lookout for Jasmine's chapbook coming up. Both Jasmine and Moncho are deeply gifted, so please, when they publish, please buy their books. I'm gonna start off with a poem that's not in this book, so you can understand how I've grown. I don't know how many people have written even just one journal or live journal, and they read themselves at 2000 something, and were like, wow, okay, that's where you were. That's okay. That's how we grow. This book is my Saturn's return. Every poem was written from 21 to 30, right? So that marks something. So this first poem is me post Saturn's return. Aunties love it when the seafood is on sale. After Giselle Buchanan. In the summertime, the women in my family spin sago like planets, make even Saturn blush. They split leaves of kangkong with riverbed softness. They are precise. Measure rice by palm lines with laughter and season broth made from creatures' last gasps. You'd swear that they were teenagers again, talking gossip, stretching limbs, elastic, durable, like seaweed. Come dinner time, skilled mouths slurp through domes of shrimp and crab. This is not a vegan poem. My aunties, they prize the fat. The angles of their teeth splinter, claw, snap, sinew, dip tart into sweet, then back again. Succulence on succulence is to find flesh from even the smallest of spaces. Women who swallow whole, who make a pile of bones, who suck teeth and taste every morsel until all that is left is a quiet room and shells of what once was. To the daughters of dried fish nets, whose dreams dragged on sand, dragged to this country, they bring home recipe years later. Flick joints to garlic, salabat to the sick, culinary remix. Teach my cousins, oi, this is how you stay alive in this cold, nasty country. Morning in the Midwest by taste bud. Afterwards, they keep the ocean husks for another meal because to get a good deal is to double. And anybody from an island will tell you that that is where the true flavor is. And what is hunger anyway? But the carving out of emptiness, the learning you have to always, always save something for later. Thank you. So this poem is for the sick, disabled, queer people, or spoonies. How many people identify as spoonies or sick, disabled, queer folks? The people who are like, light tap, light taps, light cane, not moving, here present. To be underwater and holy. Every survivor is splendor. Every spoon is sacred. Every cough is an altar on the bend of a rib cage. And every cane is a drum calling into this earth. You will be told that you're not worthy of a party. You'll be told that your body is not a celebration, so why exist at all? Because your breath is an exhausted ship lapping the wind. Because your muscles, my love, are the fatigue of a sunset. And when our bodies are carnal waves collapsing, remember, together we can find the shore. Together we can rock and wave and rest and float and spoon out. Together we need to move together. Together we can rupture veins into storms. And together we can be the grit as promising as a sound of shells. Our lineage tells us that there will always be land and ocean on these bones. So after every shift of tide, no matter the catastrophe, please hold on if you can. Okay, here's a promise. Dare to press an ear against my chest, and on this love, I swear, we'll grow scales for every current. Together, we'll part every sea like it's scripture. Thank you. Brownout shouts. And this is like a dancing club-ish, not really poem, but it's for anybody who identifies as queer, trans, non-binary, Black, Indigenous, POC. This is for you. This is for Matea, who dances the bomba with hands that crest moon hips, who admittedly kisses harder than she loves herself. Every trans, genderqueer, futchie, fairy, stud, AG, butch queen, anything with roots arches towards her. They can't help it. Their arms are like petals, soaking up her light. And this is for hard-ass Chris, who doesn't want anything to do with Brasso or that JROTC uniform, but just wants 3 meals a day for their brother and a brand new binder for his chest. This is for Javi, who takes his tequila quick. This is for Aqua Star Black, because they had the bravery to name themselves Aqua, period, Star, period, Black. Sometimes you gotta call out your own power because nobody else is gonna do it for you. Maria is a dancer clasping onto hardwood by the heels, but serves our coffee at the diner, always with a smile and always with her hair on point. She's pissed off because her partner can't afford to go to the hospital, and though you can't see it, her heart breaks because no papers or government can explain how that person coughing in the bed makes her laugh like a guttural fool. This is for JP, who draws sketches, sneaking them into your wallet, purse, satchel, man purse. This is for Saliani, whose caliber demands that the very least of her lovers have the following traits: a dexterity, initiative, and someone who can lay it down. Okay, friends, that's a fisting joke. I don't know what to do for you all if you're not getting that. But, it's Friday. We're trying to get there. For every sun shaped in bullets, your heart is compact as trigger. Your voice sharp wind song that wants to lay a forehead down on the chest of your boyfriend. Let your letters survive the wars, the jail cells. Let the meter of your words swoon your lover back to bed as you take turns turning off the alarm on the nightstand with your toes, elbows, orgasms, and in-between kisses. This is for that one lonely Korean guy, Jake, who found me in a club, like in a group of 500 white people, in the frenzy of Sugar Club Dublin, Ireland. I don't know why I was there. Look, it was rough in the early 2000s. I make do, he said. We've got one grocery store, and I practically live there. I mean, my kimchi's decent. It's not my umma's. And we can still see him shrugging in the strobe lights, hungry for somewhere else. This is for you this afternoon. Spring cleaning your blues away, maybe in your favorite t-shirt, maybe you called in sick, maybe your body rattles, maybe missing your familia back home, maybe you're waiting for that next hormone shot to find home in yourself, maybe your voice is hoarse from asking strangers for food, maybe today you lost a loved one, or you're about to lose yourself. Lost in the whimsy of musical notes, the rhythms can consume the sadness if you let it. This is for my dearest fam Sarwat, who sat on a hill, held up the sun during a conference, looking at all the fine trans femmes and trans queers of color, and said to me without saying, yeah, I'm not going to that plenary workshop or speech. I'm good. You go on ahead. I'm gonna stay here. I deserve this. For Espanol, Pangasinan, Patois, Pidgin, Mandarin love poems you write. For those baby dykes and trans youth who sprout out from neighborhoods described to tourists as, don't go there, it's dangerous. Rolling up their windows from our existence. For you who fights for our rights, for you who laughs too loud, for you who supposedly eats too much, for you who twists wrist by paintbrush, for you who will not let your spirit pass up a sunset or a protest, even when you think you deserve less sometimes, for you. Because there's a brownout right now. And by that I mean there's no electricity, which means life is crashing and pouring down. And by that I mean I am so lonely, which really means that we are brown and trans and queer and out, and we've been told too many times that all of those cannot belong at once. That based on those odds, we equal death. For you, for us, for we, because without explanation, we exist, and you like all of our ancestors before, you live it so fiercely that even when injustice sets in, this rumbling sky, it houses your breath. And that is better than any survival story. That is joy being born. Thank you. Content warning for bathrooms and poop. And also online dating. Both equally stressful for me. Growing up, I hated bathrooms. The bleach singeing my nostrils, I pictured my brown mama in every white person's house scrubbing tile, making what other people took for granted shine. In airports, I clench my bladder. I could hold it until a third, fourth floor walk up in Harlem can turn bloody. See, there's this story that a lot of trans, non-binary people know, and it's beyond guttural. It's more than the bladder. It goes something like this. I am real. I am real. I am real. I am real. Shit, I really have to go take a piss. And if what they say is true, that bathrooms are where we are all our most human, then I'm a dilapidated National Geographic, barely mammal, told to leave even in the dirtiest of settings. Example. Brown girl lowers their register like it's of cobwebs and steel. Slouches in a baggy shirt, goes beeline for that stall, doesn't want to wash their hands for fear of shouts and screams the next day and the next, until their partner's hands become pillows. Because even in your dreams, people can still get your pronouns wrong. Next. They are told that as a BOI that they are in the wrong place, so to drink a cup of water or coffee is like, by proxy, inhuman. And I wish I could just spit on every curse, on every time some trans femme turns ache when she just wants to see herself in full-length glory once a month. I want to be one of those obnoxious second-wave feminists, you know, the white ones? And I want to build a structure of blood that would make Rapunzel shiver. And it would take the crimson to write, because all good poets and artists, we just love the word crimson. I am real. I am real. I am real. You do not have to punch it out of me. A bruised eye, like a swollen gourd, a kicked rib, the density of a smashed plum. Do you know how long it can take a trans person like me to actually accept a hug? Here is my blood. It ascends the repellent stairs, for hormones or not, I am no waste of time dumping ground to let you, in your cursed words, haunt us in a whisper. Spoiler alert. Guess what? Shh. You aren't normal either. Yeah, shh. You aren't real or authentic either. That locker room hush, that road trip bus stop stank, that fast food restaurant stain on your shirt or your hair that you're saving for later, forgive me. We know how this story ends, but do we? Is it so wrong to just want to feel your hands in the light, to just want to chart an altar for the new hips, to the new hair bone, to the new hairline, to the new chin? Is it too much to just want to sit alone on the throne, taking a deuce, checking your Instagram, or being on Tinder, swiping left or right, depending on the city of which you live, and not be hashtag, not be erasure, not be ideation scale, not be ash, and most certainly not be headline, not be graveyard, and though I'm never clean, let me tell you, I'm never gonna be. The colonization that forced my family here damn well made sure of that, but what I do know is this. A brown migrant woman and her transgender child cannot grow up in your shit. Can I just feel the water on my knuckles like baptism? Because we as humans, we are 60 to 70% water, and though I'm never clean, let me tell you, the tide of the ocean beats inside me, inside my people. Look, have you ever did you ever try to like contain a wave or, date a water sign, like a Pisces? Nothing can take away their right to release. Thank you so much. So this last poem, this book is important not just because it's my first, but when I look at this poem, I realize how many people are in the acknowledgments and how many of those people are queer, trans people of color or non-binary people of color who are no longer with us, right? And how they become transcestors or ancestors. And so this is just a chant or a care psalm for all of us to survive. And I'm a Virgo sun. That explains a lot. And then I'm an Aries moon and rising. So that means I'm super spontaneous, want to jump off all the things, super poly, want to have sex with everybody, but there are Post-its and Google Docs, and it's all color coordinated and alphabetized. And there are charts. Tools, so this is my last one. If we could give Bushra, please, a big hand for curating. Tiffany, a big hand for curating. The interns, the sound folks. Tools to survive Mercury in retrograde. Hide. That's it, that's a poem. Don't read old journals. You'll hate your poetry anyway because let's face it, boo. No. Burrow your head into every crease of the bed. Talk to no one. Embrace the mercurial by yourself. Take everything personally. Take heed of your sharpness. Take stock of your softness. Watch YouTube vids of fluffy, pudgy baby animals. Keep protein close. Let the aches in. They're choreographed to the impending storm clouds anyway. Reach out once, then curl into your skin the speed of raindrops. Take nothing personally. Light candles. Crave any random sets of foods not at your disposal. Much better to crave green mango shakes and pampano rather than the people they actually remind you of. Regret doesn't deserve an answer. Believe it or not, now is not the time for 90s R&B jams, salty snacks, and the gluttonous. Make sure none of your friends quote you on that last statement. Hollow to the radius of any loss or any wind. Let the wind through this gap of you. Remember, the guilt wasn't always yours to keep. Wipe residue off your altar. Let the rain on your face become a proper disguise. Drink cups of water on the hour. Let the dogs be a shield of oxytocins and paw pads. Let the cats be a shield of oxytocins and paw pads. Let the lizards be a shield. I don't fuck with lizards. Kind of creep me out. But if you like them, that's cool. Let them be a shield. If you can't howl, pay no mind, your joints will do it for you. You know this already. Clasp your knees to your chest. Lullaby it out. Love. Let her go. Want. Let them go. Don't eat all the pastries in that goddamn fridge. Look, the problem, my love, isn't that you are not enough. The gift is that you are incredibly all too much. hum yourself through. Your spirit will do it for you. If crumpled up, now is not the time to underestimate yourself. Remember, the fetal position is a damn fine place to write. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, AAWW. Thank you, Bushra. Let me hand this over to you.
Covered it all. That was amazing. There are books in the back. You can get them signed. There may still be drinks and wine. Hang out, mingle, get to know each other. You can sign up for the Asian American Writers Workshop newsletter. And if you're interested in volunteering, let's thank the volunteers. There are volunteers here today staffing. If you're interested in volunteering at amazing events like this, see me or Tiffany. And that's it. Thank you very much.